Some Illinois employers will soon have to apply for an equal pay registration certificate, and they'll have to provide workforce demographics and pay data. It's part of an amendment to the Illinois Equal Pay Act that legislators passed last year, an effort to address the gender pay gap. And it comes as women, and especially women of color, have acutely felt the economic impact of COVID-19 as they disproportionately work in industries affected by the pandemic. And joining us to talk about the new rules on Equal Pay Day are Jason Keller, Assistant Director at the Illinois Department of Labor, and Sharita Ellens, President and CEO of Women Employed. Welcome both of you to Chicago tonight. Sharita, first, let's dispense with some statistics here. According to the National Women's Law Center, women on average are paid 82 cents for every dollar their male counterparts make. Meanwhile, black women only earn 63 cents to their white male counterparts, and Latinas earn just 55 cents. So, Sharita, first, remind us how the pandemic impacted these numbers.
Thank you so much. And yes, the pandemic impacted this number because we know that women, and in particular Black and Latinx women, were disproportionately impacted by the labor force of the pandemic, meaning the jobs that they were in were either decimated, they had to reduce hours, our childcare system just blew up. And so many women found themselves having to stay at home and remove themselves from the workforce so that they could take care of their childcare responsibilities. So that really impacted the wages that they earned over the last year. In addition to that, the jobs that women earned back, as we are coming back into the workforce, many of those jobs are in low wage roles. So even the wages that are coming back are much lower than the wages that men are earning.
So major impacts here from the pandemic. And Sharita, remind us, today is Equal Pay Day. Why is today mark that day?
Today marks Equal Pay Day because we've calculated that this is the day for the average woman where it takes her to earn income parity with men. So based off of what men earned last year, ending in December 2021, on average, women have to work to today to earn the same pay. And then that obviously changes when you when you disaggregate the data. And for Black women, it would be in September. And for Native women and Latinas, it's all the way in December. So they have to work a full year in addition to men to reach the same pay.
To make the same salary. All right, Jason Keller, the Illinois General Assembly enacted some changes to the Illinois Equal Pay Act. Tell us what those changes entail.
So the changes that we are charged with implementing here are requiring private employers with 100 or more employees to file registration documents with us to show that they are paying their employees an equal wage or salary. Once we receive those documents, we will verify those wage and salary amounts and look at them on a county level basis and conclude if they do pay their employees equally, we will give them a certificate based upon the law.
And if it's found that they're not in compliance with that, what happens?
So if they are not in compliance after turning in their materials, we will respond within 45 days of receiving their information. And in that amount of time, we will tell them what looks incorrect with the documents that they provided. They will then have 30 days to cure those deficiencies in their pay data and return those to us.
All right, Sharita Ellens, what do you think these changes will mean for equal pay in Illinois?
Well, it would certainly get us to at least equal pay for equal work. The Equal Pay Act actually passed in 2003, and we still see persistent wage gaps for equal pay for equal work. So it'll give employers an opportunity to take a look at their data, which many of them are not, and identifying if there are issues there that they need to address. And then two, it opens up this notion of pay transparency and allow employees access to information that they should have. So it's this, if you can't see it, right, you can't push for it. So it will give them an opportunity to kind of have another way of advocating for themselves, because the data, especially for those employers who are not compliant, will become public.
And Jason, as I understand, there's a $10,000 fine for employers that ultimately are not compliant. So what would have to be proven in order to enact a fine like that?
I think we will look at whether or not they are paying their employees equally. And if not, we would look at that penalty stage, but we would also look and see if a business is not complying with reporting this information to us. If they're just willfully not reporting it to us, then we would look at the penalty stage. But we always do reach compliance first.
And Sharita, you brought up the major impacts the pandemic has had. Numbers are down now, but that doesn't mean that they can't go back up. So what kind of supports need to be put in place here to get women, especially and women of color, back up to the level that they were at, and then up to the level of their male counterparts?
Yeah, I think one is the table stakes. It's equal pay for equal work. Like, enough. It's time to get that fixed. Another thing that we really have to look at is occupational segregation. This is an opportunity for us in our workforce development strategies and our recovery strategies to make sure that we are putting women on a path to careers that actually offer sustainable wages, which are oftentimes careers that are dominated by men. We also need to use this opportunity to kind of change the narrative and have conversations around these essential jobs, these frontline jobs, these jobs that are held by women in childcare, in healthcare. We need to have conversations around it's time to raise those wages. There's no reason why those are some of the lowest paid occupations out there just because they're dominated by men. And when we know they're so essential to our economy and to our society. And we need to begin looking at infrastructure of care and looking at care as infrastructure, not just child care, but elder care and care for disabilities, because we know in order to get women back to the workforce, we have to shore that up because they carry the burden of care in this country.
All right, well, that's where we'll have to leave it. And our thanks to Jason Keller and Sharita Ellens for talking about this important subject. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us.